this camera or this phone quite right. It's frustrating. We'll wait for just a minute. I just notified Roosevelt that I was going to be on, so we're going to wait to see if this thing actually goes up. All right, yeah, I've got some people showing up there. That's good. Well, hello everyone. It's the afternoon of the 19th. Hello as you come in. I'm glad I'm 5 by 5. I'm out roaming around doing a little checking on things, which is one reason why I decided to come on. And it's actually kind of cool temperature wise here right now. But I might still get hot in the car, so we're going to kind of play with this a little bit, okay? I'm trying to cut down on the exterior noise. Hello, Michigan. Couldn't really tell who that was, but anyway, hello, everyone. Um, Man, there's so many things going on. We could talk about a lot, and of course, we're going to have to talk in very veiled terms on most of these things, pretty much. And I apologize for that, but you know how it is. It's just the fact of the matter. So we're going to have to do it that way. Um, you already know what's going on in Afghanistan. I mean, as far as what we can know, and it's there's no way that they didn't plan on it going down this way. I cannot see it not being planned to have gone down the way it did, the way it has. I don't believe it. Yeah, the DoD has been pretty the Pentagon's been pretty incompetent, at least on the surface, because what they tell us their mission is, what they're trying to accomplish, and what they're really trying to do are two different things. So it looks like it's a failure, but in fact, I don't believe that's the case. I'm not saying that, you know how I feel about those generals these days, those flag officers. I don't trust them at all. It's not even so much that they're incompetent, is that they don't have our best interests at heart. They don't take their oaths to the Constitution seriously. There have been all kinds of problems with that. You all know how I feel. Um, so that's a problem. We've seen all these situations go down just today. One in D.C., one in New York, I guess, and there was something on the Golden Gate Bridge. I'm not sure about that one. That could have just been a car fire. I'm not sure. I didn't look into those. But we told you, and we've told each other, that there were going to be some serious uh, incidents occurring to make things more dystopic, cause more concern, uncertainty, and things like that. Now there's a bomb threat in Miami, too. All of this makes sense. I mean, all of it. They're trying to get us to submit to the government for our safety. I have a little, I don't usually drink soda pop. I just showed my age there, calling it soda pop, I guess. Anyway, it's a soft drink, but I kind of figured I needed it today, so you'll pardon me if you don't mind. All right. Hello, Ms. Cat. So there are a lot of things I could say, but I thought what I'd do is I'd open this up for discussion because some questions from you. I will make a couple of statements kind of upfront. I just did on that. Yeah, Patriot Act 2.0. That's exactly where all this is going. Uh, I did want you to know one of the things I've been doing outside today is checking some military installations. Okay, I'll just kind of leave it like that. Uh, and yeah, I know. I just got a message and I was just, yeah. Anyway, I told you that I was seeing, this was about a month ago, that I was seeing some uh, military equipment that was not organic. That means belonging to the units where these pieces of equipment were being placed. And I took into account the possibility of it being, training time for the National Guard and even for the reserves and in active duty too. I took all that into consideration. I did not go around looking at the bumper uh, markers. The military places the unit information on the bumpers, or sometimes on usually the rear bumper, actually both front and back, uh, so that you can tell what units they are. Well, I'm not getting that close, okay? But what I am doing, as I told you before, is I'm looking at the amount of equipment that's being placed around. And I did that check again today, and it's tripled. It's tripled. And these particular pieces of equipment are not, hi Lysogene, are not organic to the units where they are. Hi Jesse, BP Earthwatch, glad you're here. So they are getting ready for something, and I'm afraid it has nothing to do with their concern about China or I've often talked about China and these other people having forward operatives, basically special forces. They've been here for a long time. That is a problem, but seeing how things are going, and I include Afghanistan in this, we're basically handing Afghanistan over to China. That's what we're doing, and that's been the plan for a long time. Spend our money and our blood in these foreign wars, and then make it so that we become impotent, incapable, and then that helps China to slide in, because their militaries are not on the downslope of all this CRT and diversity and all that. They're training for the big time, and we are not. And our weapon systems are lagging behind, as was shown by the intrusion back in 2013 about that Chinese sub off the coast of Los Angeles, things like that. And there have been other things. But at any rate, these installations that I checked today have equipment on them, again, that are not organic to the units that are there, okay? So something else is being brought in. Now, admittedly, I haven't seen any weapon systems, okay? But those can be mounted basically at a moment's notice. All right, but I was specifically looking to see what they are. Most of them are logistical support. That's what I'm seeing. Mostly logistical support. Tankers, deuce and a halves, Humvees. They used to call these things that I don't know what they're called now, but in the old days they were called gamma goats. And today I'm not sure what they're called, but I'm seeing a lot of those types of things. Master of the human domain, yeah, that's Jade Helm and geospatial intelligence, which I've been warning about along with David Knight now for many years. So something is in the works. They don't want the American people to remain independent, liberty-loving, liberty exercising, and we're seeing how they're closing down. Remember I said that they go on the flanks first, and on our flanks we're talking about Europe, specifically Germany, France, Britain, even Iceland, to the north, Canada, to the west, of course. It's a long way out that way, but look what Hawaii's doing as far as their crackdowns, and of course California, Washington, Oregon, etc. Mexico is kind of hesitating, but I also know that it's been a staging area for China, for instance, and some other things, as most of us probably know. So we're basically having our flanks taken, and our avenues of trying to protect ourselves with our allies are being taken from us. And all of these nations are going to turn against us, ladies and gentlemen, if we don't bow the knee. They'll all turn against us. Now, the populations of those countries, we saw today what's going on in France. They actually closed down any grocery stores and places where people could get food and water, saying that they had to have that little pass. And that's called siege warfare. We've talked about that before. It's being tightened down more and more. Our logistical supply lines here in the United States are suffering. We're not getting all the supplies that we used to. There are the tankers, or not the tankers, the ships off of our west coast, off of Los Angeles, that are sitting out there and can't unload, and some of them it's been months. I put out some things by Dabu 7 on that just the other day on Twitter, and I think I may have mentioned it also here, and also the other information that we've been getting from some of the conservative military folks that have been trying to get ready for whatever it is that they see coming. So all of this is coming together. We see Biden. He's talking again about let's see, how can I put this, about the medical problem. He's talking about that. He didn't even mention Afghanistan. He wouldn't take questions. The guy is just a figurehead. We are being governed by a group, not that Biden isn't bad, but we are being governed by a group of nefarious, evil individuals and institutions that are taking us down. Okay, that's just the way it is. And one of the things I wanted to say by coming on here is that we're going to have to realize, and I'm really going out on a limb here saying this, okay? There is no peaceful way out of this, ladies and gentlemen. There is no peaceful way out. There are a lot of people that are talking about the importance of remaining peaceful, doing peaceful civil disobedience. You see how that's working out in France, in Britain. And yes, the governments are pushing that we will act first. And they're getting ready for it because they know that's where it's going to go. They know that's where it's going to go. So you're going to have to make a decision what you're going to do when there is no other way out. And by then it might be too late. I'm not going to tell you what that is. Oh, is Felicia here? Hi, Felicia. I didn't see you. Of course, I'm moving my mouth, so I don't know. Nursing homes are funded by, yeah, that's another thing. See, they're talking about turning off federal funds. Now, this is all illegal under the Nuremberg Code. You already know that. It's already illegal under our existing laws, and it's totally immoral. It's criminal behavior by the government. It's extortion, and especially when we know what the percentages are, if you can read between the lines. The percentages of those who supposedly are have this in them without any symptoms, but as compared to those who actually get a problem with it, and of course those who actually perish because of it. You see all that. Southeastern Wyoming, how you doing? It's always good to see somebody from Wyoming here. So with them pulling out of Afghanistan, I made a statement the other day that people kind of took it a little bit off, just a little bit. They were saying that what I was saying was the troops have been trained now to take on the American people by what we were doing in Afghanistan and in Iraq. Let me kind of clarify that a little bit. Almost all the time that you have situations where you're training troops, don't forget that you're also training command and control. So the fact of the matter is that what they've been doing is testing weapons, and when I say weapons systems, I also mean surveillance systems, etc. They've been testing all of those systems, and the command and control knows how to use them. They don't really care if the troops don't know how to use them, because that's really immaterial these days. When Jade Helm occurred, you're talking about small groups of intelligence and special operations units, not massive infantry units. Do you see what I'm telling you? Do you see what I'm telling you? So it's not that they have to train all the troops to be able to work against us. They just have to know in Afghanistan and Iraq, etc., what works and what doesn't. And they know. And so they got out of Afghanistan what they wanted, the testing, the opium, setting it up so that China could come in and take over for their Silk Road business, all of that. because that's who our people are that are fighting against us. Our own people who are supposed to take care of our defense and our security have sold out, not just to China, but who China represents. And who is that? Well, we already know that China is the model for the New World Order government, right? So that's where we are right now, and it's all downhill from here. I also saw, as you know, I mentioned it, that Trump is come out against the additional uh, the additional GMIs. I'll just put it that way. Okay, I don't even want to call what they are, but you go get your additional. Uh, when you get an immunization, you have to go back sometimes and get an additional one, and that happens in a lot of things. Well, he's come out against that, but he still hasn't come out against the OWS as a whole. Now, I did hear a little bit of Alex Jones today, and I just can't say that. And he's all excited because he thinks Trump is finally standing up, and that now all he has to do is just call out the other guys that were the main problem. Well, you know where I stand on that. Trump is not our savior, and no, I do not believe that he's on our side. And anybody who thinks that I think that he is, you're sadly mistaken. I didn't say that he was going to come back into the presidency like Lindell and all those did. Okay, it's not going to work that way. I'm not saying he couldn't have stolen it, but that time for that passed a long time ago. And that's probably the wrong word to use. But as it stands right now, I think that there's a problem with Trump being set up, as I've said, as somebody to come in and fix everything, and that's not the way it's going to be. Yeah, Q Talk is busting out all over, and that's all a psyop from the IC. Okay, for sure. All right, so I just wanted to give out that information so I'm not totally out, not watching what's happening. These FFs, if you don't know what that is, maybe somebody can say it on there. These FFs are going to really increase, and some of them are going to move into actual casualties. All right, because they want that, and a lot of people say, well, it didn't really happen. No, we're going to see some bad things happen, and a lot of the conservative commentators who are saying that that the government's going to blame it on us is true. That's not to say that we probably shouldn't act. The problem is we're totally unorganized, and you're not going to be able to do this in an organized capacity. And I'm not going to explain it any more specifically than that. Yeah, we are under attack. This is a war, and they are conducting it against us, and we have every right in the world to defend ourselves. The problem is that no competent authority has stood up to be the gathering point, and I'm not talking about Trump. Okay, this has to be at the state and local level that this resistance happens, and they're not going to do it. I don't see any real indication that that's happening, as I said before. Okay, finally, before I go to some questions here, let's talk about this spiritual discussion I've been talking about. I'm going to have now. Roosevelt and I have been talking about some other topics as well, but I'm going to be talking about this whole thing with the temple, the mountain, and the house. I might do it tonight, or I might do it tomorrow night. But I think even those of you who don't want those spiritual discussions will find it interesting, okay? Because a lot of the terms have been tweaked so that we apply our traditional concepts to those things, and they're really not that way. Something else is going on which you might find interesting, okay? So I just wanted to kind of give you a prep for that. Okay, let's take some questions here. Trump is a good man. No, he's not. Kiss the sky. No, he's very evil. Very, very evil. Let's see. No, Trump is very evil. Okay, I don't know what else to tell you. Can the county sheriff arrest employer for offering money for Jeff? I'm not sure how that works at that level of government. I think it would probably have to go but to the state legislatures. I'm not really sure. That's a question for an attorney, maybe Legal Man or somebody like that, you know. Legal Man is a guy on Twitter who's an attorney, and he comment. Matter of fact, I got the title of this kind of from him, which I'll explain in a minute. But for I would almost be willing to say that the sheriffs have to stand up and protect the people's rights under the existing laws as they are, Nuremberg Code or not. And any a governmental emergency, a declared emergency, those in Supreme Court cases have already been decided that does not suspend the Constitution. So in that regard, I think they could act. As far as exactly the Nuremberg Code, I'm not sure how that would work. We certainly have a right to stand in the defense of ourselves against these violations of ourselves. Now, as far as the title of this video, Legal Man says that now the government of the United States is so huge and unwieldy. When it was first developed, it was designed so that each representative of the state would represent something like 5,000 people. Well, now, if you do the math, each representative and each senator represents something like 500,000 people. That's probably way high, but you kind of get what I'm talking about. In other words, the government is so large that there's no way it can succeed as a republic any longer. It's turned into, as many so-called democracies do, they finally degenerate into a dystopic, tyrannical, authoritarian system because there's anonymity in a government that's too big. Bureaucrats are given authority to do things that the elected representatives cannot manage. They just we saw that with Pelosi when she said, well, you know, we'll have to wait until we get it before we know what's in it, when she was talking about, for instance, the Obamacare and the Patriot Act and all that stuff. So it's unwieldy. This government is going to be crushed under its own weight, or as it's doing, it's going to turn totally tyrannical and authoritarian. And that's where we are. And it will fall apart, as I've talked about. We're going to be balkanized. The country will be balkanized. It'll either the states rebelling, or just under the matter of the way that the New World Order is going to try to control us with all of these different new systems of government, for instance, the 10 FEMA regions, etc., just like Yugoslavia, etc. So that's where I got the name of this. And if you don't follow Legal Man on Twitter, and that's where he is, I think he's on Gab too. I'm not sure about that. But it's, Legal Man. It's spelled out just as it sounds there. And he talks about the government is too big. There's no chance of winning because they've, in courts or in trying to make new laws or anything, because it's so big that it can't possibly represent the people the way it's supposed to. So it represents only itself. And even there, it's going to falter to the point where it can't control it. We see it in Afghanistan, although, like I was saying, I think that's kind of a double-edged sword there. That was planned out, that it would just fall apart like that. It's very tragic, very tragic. But what is it doing? Look what they're doing in Australia, how they're attacking people there, how they're not allowing them to be free and to forcefully do things to them. Look at France. Again, I just mentioned the situation with not letting them go to the grocery store now. Do you realize that's a death sentence? That's weaponized. That's using a slow bullet to kill people. That's all it is. Instead of using a rapid fire machine gun, they're using a slow bullet to kill people. But the end result will be the same. So that's where we are. And that's why I named this. It's too big to succeed. And you know, they talk about the banks are too big to fail. Well, we're too big to succeed as a republic now. It's never going to work now. It's done and over with. Yeah, the Australians are going to pull all those kids in there and forcefully do it. That's evil. Those parents should rise up and, frankly, violently oppose it at this point. They're totally justified. Of course, they'll be crushed. But what's the alternative? Really, what's the alternative? Living in that kind of situation where they're stealing their souls, which is really exactly what they're doing. We've had this problem with the evil people trading the souls of men. Well, now they're stealing the souls. of men. They're destroying the souls of men. This is time to fight, and I'm just saying it is. I'm just saying it is. And it's going to come to where I think we're not going to have any choice. And without being organized properly under a competent authority, this is very dangerous because even if the American troops don't want to turn on us, which I think a lot of them are willing to, they've been putting, just like with the FBI, as I explained, the DOJ and all these other agencies, they've had many, many decades now to cultivate the woke, diverse training in there, selecting only those people that will go along with orders, whether they're constitutional or not. I've heard several commentators say they don't think the military will do that. Well, I was in the military, and a good example of them being willing to do this, of course, was Katrina, right? When they came in there and they not only took weapons, but they shot people who wouldn't abide by the decrees. So don't think that the military is your friend. It's not. Even the basic soldiers, there's a division there. And unfortunately, with the powers that be that are in the military and in the government, those who won't go along will be eliminated either by getting thrown out or by being murdered. I mean, that's how it's going to go. Okay? Yeah, Kent State's another example. Okay. So I hope that was of some use to everybody. They'll have more than bullets to... Oh, yeah, that's true. Most of the police have sold out. Again, I saw this movement starting in the 80s, and it really gained speed in the 90s. It used to be we talked about the minimum use of force necessary to control a situation. It was called the force continuum, use of force continuum. Well, now they've been trained to shoot first and ask questions later for a long time. A long, long time. All right? Okay. Yeah, Waco was another example. Ruby Ridge. I mean, you've got all kinds of problems there. All kinds. Never submit. Well, I'll tell you what, it's real easy to say that, but unless you're taking serious actions now, you're not serious. Okay? We're in a lot of trouble. Yeah, Pat Tillman's a good example too. Those inside the military who try to, speak out or to try to fix things, they assassinated him. No doubt about it. And McChrystal and Petraeus knew about it. As a matter of fact, and I could name a few other generals, but certainly those two. It was part of the program. We're too big to succeed. We really are. The dangerous thing is, of course, the military and their weapon systems, including nuclear weapons, which, as you'll remember, Swalwell and who else has said this? Swalwell, I guess even Biden said, hey, you think your AR-15 is going to do you any good? Hey, we got F-15s. We got F-35s. We've got tanks. We've got nuclear weapons. Wow. Your own government threatening you with those kinds of things? No, they're not. They're not for us. And unfortunately, most Americans are still asleep. They really don't understand what's happening. A lot of them are waking up. I'm really happy to see those people in San Diego standing up against their county, against the school board in their county. But you notice that government uses force on you. The New World Order uses force on you. The people that are working on this delivery system to everybody, they want to use force on you. Well, guess what? That's the only thing they understand, is that force is used on them. So whether or not we want to go down that road, and I don't want to, but that is all they understand, ladies and gentlemen. They understand nothing else. Be as wise as serpents, as harmless as doves. But do you know what that means? A wise serpent doesn't strike unless it's safe to do so. That's what that means. It's not that they won't strike. It's that they only strike when they know they're not going to be receiving a problem in return. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Yeah, Jade Helm was a test. Man, they harassed the crap out of me during Jade Helm. And I've talked about it where I had to chase down a couple of the operatives. Oh man, it was, and really there have been a lot of other cases, but that was certainly one. As a matter of fact, I better not tell you about that story. Yeah, sometimes it's better not to talk about some things. Yeah, the U.S. government's declared war on its own people, and it doesn't need to be a declaration that's written or even stated. By their fruits, you will know them. Right? By their fruits, and their fruits are all rotten to the core. All right, let's see what other questions there might be here. Why is Trump evil? I'm not going to. Trump did not protect our rights. Here, oh, okay, you're telling us why. Here we are. Yeah, right. Yeah, he didn't protect our rights. As a matter of fact, he sent us down the road in more than one path that we're having right now. Trump actually facilitated this. Hillary would never have been able to pull it off. Okay? And Biden's just following in his footsteps. That's really all that's happening here. Yeah, don't open your door. Unless you've invited him over, don't open your door. Okinawa, Japan. Yeah, I was in Japan I was at Yokota Air Base up there north of Tokyo. But yeah, I traveled around Japan when I was there. I actually didn't go to Okinawa now that I think about it. I forget the other place I went to, but at any rate. Okay, I'm trying to answer some questions here. Gray State, Roy? Gray State. I'm not sure what you're saying, Patricia Foster Barnes. Gray State, I'm not sure what, with question marks. I don't know what you're saying. Well, I'm not sure that Trump is controlling Biden. It's interesting how Obama and Trump and all these guys appear to be enemies. And yet you notice things never really change. Yeah, Trump didn't really start any new wars, but he didn't stop any either. And the people say, well, he couldn't because, he doesn't have the power. The whole system was against him. Those are all excuses. Okay? The commander-in-chief is the commander-in-chief or he isn't. End of story. If he doesn't have the guts to do it, he shouldn't be the commander-in-chief. If he can do it and he doesn't, it's because he's complicit and he's going along with whatever it is. Just like what we're seeing now. Yokota Air Base, Japan. Oh, you were there in 1983? Yeah, I was there in, 99. Yeah, I was there in 99. I'm not, Brett Lucas, I'm not really I don't anticipate the rapture in the sense that most Christians do. I don't look at it that way. As a matter of fact, we're going to kind of talk about that in this discussion I have coming up about the temple, the house, and the mountain. And you'll see why. Ghislaine Maxwell? Who knows? Well, I don't think we're being told the truth about what's going on with her. Emergency broadcast system, well, last week, what day was that we had that, EBS and WES, and it did happen. I don't know if we're going to have more or not, but of course, Klaus Schwab, I shouldn't have said his name, he talks about cyber pandemics. Yeah, so they're not going to take down I don't think that they're going to want to take down the cell phone system because that's how they do their tracking. Unless most of the people they're worried about now have nanotech in them that they don't need the cell phones, and that's a real possibility with all the spraying and the stuff in the food and the water, and certainly those who have had their intrusion, with the long thing that goes in you. I will tell you that, and I've told people this before, so that a lot of people already have things in them, especially if they've been in the military. When I went overseas in 2001 after 9/11, I think I've told you. I think they gave me 23 or 28 injections. It was really crazy. I was never the same after that. And I had some problems because of it. But I did go to the VA once for his physical, and I was doing the part where the doctor's asking you questions about this thing and that thing. And one of the questions he asked was, "Well, how's your chip doing?" And I went, "My chip?" He goes, "Yeah." And I said, "I don't know about a chip." And he said, "Excuse me, I've got to go check something." He got up and he left. And he came back a few minutes later and started the questioning again and totally changed the subject. And I stopped him and I said, "What's this about a chip that I have?" And he said, "We don't need to talk about that." So a lot of us have these tracking systems in them, in us already, okay, of one sort or another. Yeah, I don't think there's a pre-trib rapture. Now, I don't care if you believe it. That's fine, but I'm not looking at it. And again, if you listen to my information that you're going to get when we have this little discussion, you might you don't have to change your opinion. To me, it's not a point of salvation. You're not going to be kept out of heaven or sent to hell whether you believe in the rapture or not. That's not an issue of any importance to me. What's most important is righteousness and piety. Period. Have I heard of Joel Skousen? I was an acquaintance with his uncle Cleon Skousen, and so I know them very well as far as that goes. I've never met Joel. Yeah, he was not a Navy pilot; he's a Marine pilot. He believes that Russia and China will attack the U.S. between, well, they're not going to have to. They're going to be able to walk in invited. They're not going to have to attack. Okay, Joel's not quite right about that. They'll be able to just walk over. They'll walk right through us. The UN's going to do that. We've spent all of our blood and money on foreign wars. We're totally impotent now. And they're just going to be able to walk in. As a matter of fact, there's going to be so much turmoil here in this country. What you see happening in France and Australia, and the people when they start rising up, that's all going to happen here. They've divided us. I mean, look how people now are divided over whether they have the jab or not, and how people are willing to kill you because you won't submit to their point of view. That's what we're looking at. They're not going to have to attack. That's how I look at it. But Joel Skousen wrote a book called Strategic Relocation about where you could go to try to avoid a lot of this that's going to be happening. You're not going to be able to avoid all of it, but there are places that are safer than others. So it's worth buying his book. And I like Joel. He won't talk to me because I'm an excommunicated Mormon. He's Mormon, by the way. He won't have a thing to do with me. I tried to reach out to him a few years ago, and he would have nothing to do with me. That was not the case with his uncle Cleon. I actually had a conversation more than once personally with Cleon Skousen, who, if you know anything about him, he was in the FBI. I think he was the FBI director for a short time, or at least Cleon Skousen was, or maybe he could have been an agent, special agent in charge or something like that. I don't remember. But then he became the chief of police of Salt Lake City, and I met him kind of incident to some of that. I don't know how long we have left. They're moving against us now. They've been moving against us for a long time. It's been an incremental situation, and that's how the communists work. They usually don't do it all at once. They take you down a road of appeasement and of trickery and of um, promising you things, giving you things, really softening you up before they really take the big step of mass murder. But that's coming. That is coming. No, I don't know who you're talking to, Tel Seven. I haven't. No. The chip I got, I guess you could almost call it that, but that was in 2001. It had nothing to do with the current medical situation. A lot of you ex-Army vets probably have them too and don't even know it, because that's how I found out I had. By the way, I went to somebody who used a Tesla device to short circuit the chip, and it blew up in my arm. I mean, it was bad. It actually short circuited, and I've had problems with that ever since, amongst other things, by the way. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Prairie's Girl. Yeah, they never said it was a test. Yeah, very good. And I think what they were doing was, it was like the Jade Helm thing. They were running, as I said on a video some time back. Jade Helm was comparing their uh, their cyber information with on the ground checking the accuracy of their information. You see what I say? What I'm saying? Well, that's, I think, what they did with this. Now they were using their cyber system to check and see if it was telling them what they expected to see. So a lot of people, they didn't want them to know it was a test, even though they pronounced it, they didn't say, like you said, this is a test. So it probably wasn't. They were probably actually either taking things off your phone, putting things on your phone, or checking their intelligence information, their geospatial intelligence in the digital realm, in the cyber realm. Yeah, anthrax was bad. Yeah, it was. As a matter of fact, there was a real problem with that, both here and there. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to answer questions here. Injectable chips. Yeah. Yeah, through a syringe. Yeah, that's how they did it. Yeah, it was an injectable. Yeah, it sure was. Now, just so you know, it was sometime around during the Iraq War, the early stages of the Iraq War, that they changed the first of all, you would wear, to prevent getting shot up by friendly fire, you would wear an ID that could be sensed by targeting systems to know if you were friendly or not. I don't know if you knew that or not, but they developed that. And then they changed the military ID card from the old ID card to a new one that had a chip in it as well, and that identified you in a lot of ways. So that kind of replaced that other card. All of that was going on. That's what I was saying. They were testing these systems in Iraq and in Afghanistan. Okay, the new ID card has those types of properties in it. Okay, and you'd think that it's a good thing, because if you're out and you're lost somewhere in a battlefield, they can find you. Yeah, but it also works against you. Okay, it works against you too, like it did in the case of Pat Tillman. All right. Roy, you are doing what needs right now. We need to come together. I wish we could come. I wish we could. I wish we could. But there are spies everywhere. There are InfraGard everywhere. You saw what happened with the thing in Michigan. They finally admitted that the FBI ran the whole thing, right? That's how they operate. I saw it at Bundy Ranch. It happened at Malheur. I wasn't there, but I had friends who were, and they told me about it. And I actually warned them about it before they went up. We see it all the time. I've been approached by more honeypots than I care to, and that's just been since 2013. Actually, it started in 2010. You can't believe what these people are up to. Everybody wants to be a secret agent. They're not your friends, and you got to be very careful who you let into your inner circle. Even longtime friends you can't trust. And I can say that by firsthand experience too. Yeah, oh, that's definitely coming, Adam Pro. Yeah, those additional prohibitions on moving around are coming. Yeah, they have to do it, because look what they're doing in Australia. They're telling you not even to talk to your neighbors now. In France, you can't go to the grocery store. You can't even get food. They're killing you with a slow bullet, both socially, psychologically, physically, logistically. It's all happening. It's all happening. You don't have to wait for it to come. It's happening. And yes, I do believe that what we're seeing is the mark of the beast. You know, everybody wants to think that it's got to be this thing in your hand or in your head, and I've talked about that. No, it's the system. The system. And the piercing by this procedure qualifies, even though a lot of people don't want to believe that it does. Did you know Field McConnell and Abel Danger? I did not know him personally. He interviewed me on his show a couple times. I did know a few of his agents who were very good friends of mine, okay? But I was never a part of it, and I never actually met him personally. Yeah, that's right, Kahana. I talked about that situation with that graphite compound some time ago, and I was actually challenged on that by a guy who claimed to be a chemist and said he had done a dissertation on it or whatever. And he called Kath, I forget her name now. Anyway, the one that Stu Peters interviewed, Catherine, I forget her, Hitchens or something like that, who had worked for as in this whole industry, and other doctors too. That yes, it is in there, and it's part of the PEG, the polyethylene glycol coating on the nanotech. Yeah, I got the air gun vaxes too. Yeah. Oh, I've had both needles and the gun and the air guns. Yeah, I've both of them. Yeah, in 2001 I was bleeding when literally I had blood streaming down both arms when I left the clinic that day. And like I said, I didn't mind the injections. The needles and stuff like that don't bother me. But the soups that they put in me, I've never been the same since, and they caused me some troubles later. The next move is basically it's going to be starting to tighten down again. You're seeing it already in California, LA, San Francisco, Washington State again. Inslee just did it. You're seeing it in Austin, Texas, even though the Governor Abbott has said no, they're still doing it. They don't care. Okay, the law is what they say it is, not right. This is a lawless country now. There is no law. It's a dictate. It's an edict. It's a ruler by 1,000 monarchs. All of these little tyrants in their little areas of influence. And nobody is holding anybody to account. And you've got a president now and an executive branch and a legislature and even the Supreme Court that is just going to let it happen. As a matter of fact, they're pushing it. That's why I say we're too big to succeed. As far as a republic, we're too big to succeed. It's coming down. So the move is they're going to keep tightening down, and at some point they're going to start attacking people like you and me, literally attacking us. And I don't mean with words. You can't fix it, Karen Merritt. There is no fixing it. We've been so evil and so wicked for so long. God doesn't have to condemn us. We've condemned ourselves. He's just withdrawn his presence. That's why I started talking about spiritual things more, because we have to change our focus. We have to be aware of all these things that we're talking about now, but we've really got to change our focus and go back to what's really important. And what's really important is your association with the great eternal, however you view it, okay? It's more important that you seek it than that you know exactly what it is, as many Christians will demand of you, that you actually know, that you say something affirmative that something of something particular. Being honest with yourself and just seeking for the guidance of the Eternal One is more important than actually knowing exactly what that is at this point, because humility is what matters. People that say they know, they're actually very prideful, and pride God does hate. And a lot of Christians are very prideful in their and Jews too, and Muslims, a lot of people. But most of us are Christians here, right? So that's why I talk about that. It's very prideful to say that you're saved and that somebody else isn't because they don't believe the way you do. That's pride, and pride comes before the fall, and that's why we're going down. That's why we're going down. We actually are idol worshipers of the worst kind. And again, I'm going to talk about that. If for those of you who don't want to talk about spiritual things, I understand you don't have to listen to it. I think I'll title it something like Ezekiel's Merkava vision. I'll probably call it that, so that you know. Okay, so just look forward to that. Ezekiel's Merkava vision, and that'll tell you that I'm going to talk about the temple, the house, and the mountain. Okay, and all of these things about how you approach God. Now, I'm not perfect to God. Oh, no, no. I've been chastised by him more than I care to admit. But that's probably why I kind of understand that things aren't what the Christians say they are, or or the Muslims or the Jews. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show you some things where the Jews alter stuff even amongst themselves so that they go along with the tradition rather than the truth. Remember Rev Tevi in Fiddler on the Roof? Most of you are probably too young to remember that. But all they talked about was tradition. They didn't want to know the truth. They wanted the tradition, right? My voice isn't too good right now. We're going to talk about that. Yeah, right, Roosevelt. Very important that you live the day in front of you. Don't sacrifice a moment worrying about the future. I think that's true, except that you need to prepare. Noah prepared. Preparation is part of what the Lord's people do. They do prepare. So I don't see any problem with worrying about getting ready. What you can't worry about is what the outcome's going to be. That's really what it is. If you worry about that, yeah, you may not even do. But I see what you're saying. But yeah, if you worry about what the outcome is rather than just doing, yeah, it's going to be bad for us. I agree with that. Oh, Gray State, Roy David Crowley. And I still don't know exactly what that is, Patricia. I'm so sorry. I'll see if I can look it up. Gray State. I see. That must be his site or something. Roy David Crowley. Okay, we'll see. All right, it's been 52 minutes. Oh yeah, it's very dangerous to live by military bases, especially the active ones. Air Force bases, particularly. Air Force and naval bases, particularly. Army too, but mostly naval and Air Force bases. Ooh, yeah, very bad. Where do I live? Where I want to. I think most everybody knows that Wyoming is where I call home, but I travel a lot. I'm in Utah a lot. I'm in Arizona a lot. I'm in well, I don't go to California so much anymore. Washington State, Idaho. I get around, as most of my friends know. The attack is underway. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I think we've done enough for this. I hope the question and answer was all right. I didn't get the kind of questions I thought I was going to get, but that's okay. At least I gave us the opportunity to discuss these things prior to the spiritual class that we're going to have. All right. All right. You all take care. I got to go. I've got to be somewhere else here right quick. All right. You all take care. Thanks for being here. We'll talk later.